It would be a disservice to not actually highlight the spring game that happened over the weekend for the Tennessee Volunteers and to not talk about at least a couple of the players that actually suited up in the orange and white for the annual orange and white game. There'll be much more time to talk about Nico Iamaleava, his departure, where does he transfer to as the spring transfer portal opens this week. Also, who does Josh Heupel and company get out of the portal? Do they get Nico's replacement or at least somebody to fill a now depleted quarterback room? We'll talk about that later this week. Right now, I want to talk about the guys that were actually on the field. I'm Paige Dower. This is the Field Pass on Full Disclosure. Of course, with Nico's departure, there was a unique structural change to the annual spring game that they weren't otherwise planning on doing if they had all of the bodies that they were supposed to. But with that structural change, we had the unique pleasure and opportunity to see aspects of the game at a high clip that we don't really get to see, at least through spring training, and that's red zone opportunities. During spring training, we're not allowed to capture video of it. We're really not even out on the field for much of those red zone opportunities during the open period. So when they were having a ton of reps with those types of situations, it was really nice to see that. I also had an opportunity to be on the field, capture some highlights, of course not at all 22 cams, so this is taken at a very micro type level, but it was nice to kind of get those one-on-one type of video that I think you guys will enjoy, as it is a different perspective. I will blow this up a little larger so that you guys can see what I'm watching, but I do first want to look at some of those red zone opportunities. It looks like they're at the 20, maybe they're at the 25, so maybe they're just outside of it, but good situational football that's happening here. We will first start with George McIntyre coming in at quarterback, of course talking to his OC and Joey Halzle. You see the patience that he has, quote, in the pocket as he's waiting downfield. The target he's trying to get it to is Cole Harrison. He's a redshirt freshman tight end. He's number 86, and he is battling with one John Slaughter down the field to try and make the play. I'll freeze frame it here. He is obviously falling to the ground. The tight end is falling to the ground. So was it the turf monster? Was it some type of battling? Did he get tripped up? Again, not a 22 cam, but what I liked about it is, if we rewind a little bit, is Slaughter's ability to get his head turned around to look at the ball, as that's something that we hear Tim Banks talk about all the time, eye discipline. He showed that there, being able to extend his body to try and get his hand to reach in front of it, deflect the ball, and he played through the play even though there was some contact going down to the ground. I did like that moment there. There was another moment where the defense did shine. This time it will be Jake Merklinger in at quarterback. He talked about how he changed his grip on the football earlier in spring practice. There is some good zip to it, and he says it feels a lot better coming out of his hand, and we'll have better highlights of him later in this. But his target is supposed to be a wide receiver and Nathan Roberts. The guy blocking him or battling with him will be defensive back William Wright, a redshirt senior. And I absolutely loved it because I need to freeze frame it here. I'm about to get tackled. But I love the way that he too is able to get his head around, create separation between him and the wide receiver that he's guarding. And he gets his hand on the ball. It's a solid deflection that you get there. Of course, no 22. So was the ball short? Could it have been better placing? Did Nathan Roberts run the route that he was exactly supposed to? Not sure, but I like the battle. That's what we're focusing on. It's plays like that, that after the game when Arion Carter was asked like who got the best of who, he's just like, we all just kind of ball.
We really were going at it every single day, day in and day out, and you could really see us see the cream rise to the top, as you would say, as far as like guys getting better and sharpen and fine-tuning small details to ultimately get to the goal and push the envelope of winning the championship. And I felt like we were playing really good championship football this spring.
Okay, and the one guy that absolutely balled out in the orange and white game was freshman tight end Jack Van Dorselaer. He had a trio of touchdowns, and it didn't matter who the quarterback was. He was going to be able to get to the end zone. And what I really liked about what he was able to do in the spring game is how he was able to contribute in a number of different ways. And those touchdown plays were all very different types of plays. So where we hear the coach speak from Josh Heupel, he's like, oh, he did really good in the scope of what we're doing, had great fundamentals. This is how I'm now going to interpret what that means. As we're kind of looking at the highlights, it doesn't matter what the play necessarily is, especially in the second touchdown that we'll see here, just really essentially being able to split a couple defenders. There's a lot of defenders in the area for him. That's 15 who he'll break that would-be tackle with as he tries to get an arm wrapped around and just carries it in 10 more yards for the touchdown. The last touchdown play that he got, which I thought was really nice, the way that they were able to manipulate that play and, you know, kind of looking like he's going to set up a block, but sees a seam, exploits it, and then George McIntyre sees it and just kind of both him a touchdown, and they were absolutely juiced after that. And I think someone who's really hyped was, of course, Miles Kitzelman, who's battling back from his own injury. There's not necessarily a timetable that we know when he'll return, but you can see he's so eager to get back out on the field. But he knows that in opportunities like this, with his presence not out there, those guys are getting valuable additional reps. And he knows that's so important for those guys' development, and especially with how much they probably will need those kind of guys when the season does roll around.
Just trying to pour everything into them. It's college has gone by fast, and I'm the old guy in the room now, and that's unfortunate. But I want to pour everything I have into those young guys. I want to see them strive better than I have. It's like being a dad, and so just everything that I can give them, any sort of knowledge that I can give them, just to give them an advantage, because we're going to need those guys this fall.
It's important to make the right decisions, like when to go for it on 4th down, or when to kick the field goal or go for the touchdown. It's also important to make the right insurance decisions, too. That's why my office, Trey McAdams State Farm, is here to help you select the right protection at the right price. Our office will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages, so you'll know what to expect when the unexpected happens. With Trey McAdams State Farm, it's easy to make the right call. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Proud sponsor of the Tennessee Vols.
Okay, we'll keep it positive on offense, and we'll now look at a couple of wide receivers who made some good plays. We've heard a lot about Mike Matthews heading into this season, and of course what he did last season in his limited exposure, and then the new freshman wide receiver and Radarious Jackson. They both had some really nice plays, and they had, especially with Mike Matthews, showed some really good catch radius that we'll see here on this play, and it's something that I really like before they get to the 11-on-11 portion. This is still those red zone opportunities that we're flashing back to, but it's Jake Merklinger who will be in at quarterback. This one is definitely a back pylon type of route that they're trying to get to, and just the way he's able to go up, reach for the football, the catch radius is incredible. He's got 35 painted on him. He's still able to go up in the air, put his body on the line, make that catch, and it's so impressive that he was able to hold on to the ball through the contact on the ground. One, when they did get to the 11-on-11 portion, George McIntyre is in at quarterback. They've already had a couple of first downs up to this point. I like it because he's going through his reads. He quickly goes to it, and it's across the entire field. You see he first looks over to his left before he makes his way back over to his right side, and he sees it, he waits for it. He's got a good offensive line holding up against some big guys on defense, and just lets it fly. A nice high arching football that gets it to only just him. He beat his coverage, he got on an island, and he falls to the ground getting the catch. George McIntyre, and he says for him, his entire spring practice was really about being a sponge and trying to improve each day.
Adjusting to college schedule, and then in the game, adjusting to college speed. I think every practice I tried to pick out one thing to really be intentional about and get better at, and I feel like I did a good job of that. And yeah.
I know you all probably saw either the YouTube short or somewhere on my social media when I posted that clip of Jake Merklinger talking about, I have that QB1 mentality. Well, I followed up with him and how much that mentality that he learned from Gaston Moore a season ago really truly did help him prepare for this moment where you're flung into the situation that you're going to have to kind of operate as that QB1 type of mindset heading into this game. And he says it absolutely did help translate to the orange and white game.
It prepared me really well. Coach Halsey, Coach Jared, Coach Landry, they do a great job of, keeping me prepared. Any advice I can get, I go to them. So they've done a really good job.
George and Jake are very young players within the system, first year, second year, and you want older guys to kind of help lead that way, and that's exactly where Jake relied on Miles Kitzelman as they both came into the program at the same time.
Our relationship's really good. I see him as a big brother. He's been really good to me. But, it's also a relationship where we can push each other in the weight room, whatever that is. So, just knowing guys like Miles, have our back, it means a lot.
And while the ground settles for Tennessee, Arion Carter put on an absolute masterclass when he was at the podium talking about the culture of this program, of this team, not only specifically from position group to the next, but how they all come together as one cohesive group and how much they will thrive on that this season.
You know, all of us together as one, I feel like we're unbreakable. And I feel like in situations like this is just a true test of, and testimony of who we are as people and as a team, you know. And I just feel like as long as we rally around these young guys and get them better day in and day out and just continue to rise, I feel like we'll be just fine because we got the guys. We're all we got and we all we need.
So hopefully you enjoyed kind of seeing some of the highlights from a different perspective on the field. It was, really fun to be there. And of course, we'll have much more on Tennessee football coming up later this week and a few exciting newsworthy things to talk about as well later this week. So certainly make sure you subscribe, like, comment, engage, anything you guys can do. We do seriously and truly appreciate. And part 2 with Burt Bertelkamp and Jimmy Himes will air Thursday at 1 o'clock. We hope to see you guys there.